It's got a nice, beautiful cover here done by Calafiore. This giant Kro-Tan with his hand reaching out and grabbing, Rick and Flash, who are on this little sky cycle thing going on here. Kind of a neat cover, and unlike a lot of comic books you might find on the stands, this cover actually directly relates to what's in the issue, which I appreciate as a comic book fan. If you've been following this series, Defenders of the Earth issue 3 ended with Rick discovering a dark secret. He learned that Octon, one of Ming the Merciless's old allies, is still alive, and he is commanding an army of ice robots, which were the main army that Ming the Merciless used in the original Defenders of the Earth cartoon series and in the original miniseries. So Rick is shocked and in horror. He has this screeching face here, which, the art in this series, I like it overall. It's not my favorite. I do feel like Rick here looks a little aged up with the way he's screaming. I feel like there's too much lines and details that make him look more like an older man than a teen, but that's just a small gripe. Something I have been enjoying about this series are the colors. I love kind of the bright, vibrant colors, and you'll see that throughout the issue as I flip through. They really kind of capture both the brightness of the cartoon, but also something that feels a little more modern and sleek. So you don't have like these childish bright colors that feel like an 80s cartoon. You have something that kind of meets you in the middle with more of the serious tone that a lot of modern comics have. So we have, Rick trying to hold his own against these ice robots. Zuffy, the animal from the cartoon series and the original miniseries, jumps in to save the day. If you haven't been up on this series, Zuffy is aged up a little bit too. The creature's bigger than he was in the cartoon because he was like a little baby in the cartoon and some years have passed. So they do age up Zuffy. Flash Gordon busts in through the window. We get a nice little action scene here. I love the lettering here of Dad as he leaps into action. Flash Gordon's finally coming to be the hero that we've been expecting him to be for the past 3 issues, even though, he really hasn't. He's been mostly corporate Flash for the past 3 issues as he's been working with Baron Atomics, which is a company run by Kro-Tan. And, they're providing a lot of the energy for the world, trying to help out humanity. But as we've seen with Rick Gordon's storyline the past few issues, that's not the case. They're up to no good. Kind of obvious. But Flash and his son reconnect, and they're going to escape here. They leap out the window. For those who have read the republished Defenders of the Earth miniseries that was originally put out by Marvel in the 80s, and it was beautifully restored and reprinted by Mad Cave Studios this past year. This is a nod to the cover of the republished version from Mad Cave. And so it's a fun little, bit of eye candy, I suppose. But they hop on to basically what the cover of this issue is. Here's this little, Selectric Sky Skier is what they call it. And it's a lot of this issue is devoted to this chase. They're catching up. Rick is updating his dad on what he's discovered, and Flash is, having his suspicions confirmed. There's an old warship of Ming the Merciless coming after them. So there is a little bit of this, back and forth of, well, is Ming still alive? I feel like it's the tease they're trying to go for, but all roads and everything is pointed to Kro-Tan so far as being the big bad this series, that it feels a little bit like wasting time when they keep trying to suggest that Ming might still be alive. This is kind of the big action shot of the issue right here. Here they are being chased by that warship in the middle. It's very cinematic. We have all these close-ups up top and down at the bottom where they're, uniting over the fact that Dale Arden, who was killed off in the pilot of the cartoon and the first 2 issues of the original miniseries, her consciousness was put into a computer, and we learn that program is still running and still alive. So Dale is still with us. And a lot of this is just throughout all the action, just kind of updating the main beats of the story with Kro-Tan and whatever this Ice Station Earth deal is and everything going on there. They get in touch with Mandrake the magician, telling him that they're on their way and they got to hide out because, well, they're being attacked and they need a place to lay low. And as they're flying away, they see this giant hologram of Kro-Tan, which there's your cover shot right there. It's pointing to this, and Kro-Tan's kind of playing dumb while they zip off. And it's another one of those teases of, well, was Kro-Tan really behind it, or is it Ming? Or maybe it's Ming's mind in Kro-Tan's body. Who knows? At Mandrake, the magician's mansion, Mandrake and Phantom are waiting for Flash's arrival. And this is kind of the... So, for Phantom fans, you know, a lot of people at Chronicle Chamber, the main interest there is the Phantom. And he's in this issue a very small amount. This issue 3 was like the big Phantom issue, but for the most part of the series, it's focused on other characters. There's a heavy focus on Rick Gordon. So, you know, we finally get some shots of the Phantom, who basically just says he doesn't trust Kro-Tan, never has. You know, Flash arrives. They all get up to speed on what's going on. They inform the president. You know, Rick unveils that he learned that it seems like Kro-Tan is turning humans into ice soldiers. You know, and Phantom is kind of, he's a sourpuss this issue, I guess you could say, because if you haven't been reading the series, or if you have, you know that the Phantom is technically a ghost. He literally is the ghost who walks. And so he's trapped in Mandrake, the magician's mansion, because Mandrake did some magic to keep him around. And so he's tethered to this mansion and can't leave. Kind of a weird plot development there. But they get in contact with Lothar, who went to the Five Nations. We saw him last issue and sporadically throughout the past 3 issues. He's been in this series, it feels like, the least so far, but he basically tells them, hey, you can crash at my pad. You know, we can lay low here. You're clear to come. So this is all kind of a vehicle to get everybody to go to the Five Nations in Africa. And we have a nice little tease here as they're walking on a Mandrake's mansion. We have this beautiful rendition of Flash Gordon's original rocket ship created by Dr. Zarkov. Kind of a cool nod. I really appreciate that as a fan of the Flash. But, you know, basically this is where last issue's big plot reveal comes into play. Phantom wants to tell Flash everything that's happened to him and why he hasn't been around and why he's just been hanging out at Mandrake, the magician's mansion, and Mandrake's kind of shushing him up, basically, you know, all to point to, yes, it's true, the Phantom can't leave this mansion, but Mandrake can just turn the mansion into a tiny little thing that he can shove in his pocket, which means that whole plot device of Phantom being trapped in this house is kind of no more. Now the Phantom can go anywhere. So we spent a lot of time with something that was solved in like 2 seconds, which is kind of convenient, and it really kind of makes... I go back and forth on this because I'm not quite sure what the point is. We are only midway through this series. So, you know, where is this going in terms of the Ghost Who Walks storyline? You know, it's hard to say. We have 4 more issues to go, you know, but anyways, they're off to the Five Nations. Meanwhile, we get a shot of Garrick's up here, and then we get Kro-Tan, who now fully fledged the bad guy, revealing that he has the body of Dale Arden just floating around in a tube. And so that's, you know, what we'll find out more about hopefully next issue. It looks like issue 5 will be a little bit more Phantom focused. We have 2 of them in the cover here. So really looking forward to that. You know, maybe that'll be something that kind of redeems the Phantom storyline in this series so far. Because it's been, there hasn't been much. And that's kind of the big thing with this is where are we going? What's going to happen with the Phantom? This whole thing about him literally being a ghost, it just kind of came out of nowhere. But I guess we'll find out in the next 4 issues. Have you read Defenders of the Earth issue 4 yourself? Let us know what you think in the comments. How are you feeling about this series so far? For more Phantom news, comic reviews, podcasts, Defenders of the Earth reviews, you can check out chroniclechamber.com. If you want to hear more from me personally, I'm on Threads. You can find me at writer_Scott, or you can visit my personal site at scottwaldenwright.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.